All right, what's going on, guys? We are live. I'm back on my desktop just for today as moving out. So today, hopefully, is my last day that I have to fly from the West Coast to the East Coast, and then I'm gonna be stationary for the next few months. So really excited about that. You still don't have my face in the corner. We don't have my mic set up yet, but by end of the week, we'll be back with kind of the classical setup that I'm really looking forward to. But at least I have a nice big screen today, and the connection will be nice and clean. I think the connection's actually been clean anyways. What's going on, guys? All that admin stuff doesn't even matter. What's up, Josh? What's up, Surf? Machuna is saying he's Kim Jong-un. What's up, Pirji? Bola. What's up, Sleep? Zed, Jorge, everyone else in here. D. Callahan, what's going on, guys? Lawrence, John, CB. Couple things I want to look at today. What's going on, Sugar Spa? I was going to do the stream last night, Sunday night, at like 1 or 2 a.m. And then I figured, why kind of just do 2 streams. One to kind of let Bitcoin develop a little bit more, see if this retest actually held. And Josh, it's just a temporary thing. I'm just flying too much, and I hate having a travel day on Thursday or on a Monday or something. It takes away time from the group, and then it messes up my stream schedule. So I want to be stationary and put for a little while. But a couple things I want to cover today, and kind of why I didn't want to do the stream last night. I wanted to let this develop a little bit more, see if this retest actually held. So we're going to be looking at this retest, what this means, and kind of still a map and whether anything has changed here. And then past that, one kind of quick look, there continues to be kind of the analysis using Ethereum as a timing guide, and then kind of also looking at how other alts are priced. Right now, it's a little bit unique in that I think they're kind of disagreeing. For the first time, usually my analysis and kind of what I'm looking at with ETH as a timing guide usually agrees pretty much with what I want to do with alts. But right now, might not be agreeing as closely as it's been in the past. So looking at ETH, I don't know why this color is different today. I think I was going to make a thread and never got around to it. So anyways, we'll talk about that. And then a few individual coins I need to update. Enigma and Icon both giving some interesting situations just because they're dipping below that support. Right now down about 4 or 5%, maybe a little bit more, kind of on the staggered entries. So around 7%. So I want to kind of update those, give thoughts on that. Past that, really kind of just looking at a few of those Bittrex coins still. Mu is kind of the first one that's looking to lift off. However, that could just be from the Twitter attention it got yesterday. Either way, I don't want to chase coins like this, but this is a good sign that the positional plays, I think, still will work out. Right? And then there's one other play I want to look at. I wish V wasn't stuck on Bittrex and only Bittrex, because this chart's actually very attractive as well. It's almost all the way back to when we originally played the trade. On this ascending triangle breakout, it actually is, and this is also the April low, also coming out of a nice falling wedge. So I wish this coin wasn't just stuck on Bittrex, right? But we'll see if a play is made there. I'm not too eager to move in. I kind of like the alts that I'm in. I kind of like my alt exposure, but I want to look at that setup anyways. For anyone who kind of missed the last V play, I think it's an attractive place right now, but I'm personally waiting on playing it again. Right, so let's start with Bitcoin. And then we'll dive in. There's a couple other questions. I know someone wanted me to look at Ren. The one thing with charting Ren is it's only on IDEX and OKX. So I could maybe pull up CoinG. We'll do that at the end. But looking at Bitcoin, where we are, the chart that I put up yesterday and kind of closed yesterday's analysis on, right, we had Bitcoin followed the plan in the sense that it didn't hit my lower bids down here at 7,800. I got a few bids in here at 8K. Really, the plan was, though, on this dip, in my view, ever since we've broken, not to be too repetitive, but ever since we've broken out of this downtrend, right, my view has been, and that's a little bit rough drawn. Actually, it's pretty accurate. Ever since we broke out, I've been viewing these kind of dips as this has been the reversal at 6.6, and we do move higher. Right, so as we failed to break this, just a quick review, looking at these two supports to hold, we got to bounce on kind of the top level of that support. I thought it would come a little bit lower, and now we're moving back up. Since we were able to cross above this short-term resistance as a previous support, you can see it being resistance back here, I was expecting this support to be kind of retested, at least on smaller time frames, right? On 1 hour and kind of 4 hour time frames, this is what we were looking at. whenever Bitcoin moves up a little bit too quick, I always kind of expect, and you can just keep the exact same levels on your chart. I do, or you can add new levels if you want. Oftentimes, you don't need to add any new levels because you're just going to be retesting either or reusing previous resistances or previous supports. So that's exactly what we got. It's playing out right now. Kind of still waiting for it to develop, right? I want to see some more 4-hour candles, see where they close. The one thing I also wanted to note, I kind of pointed out this in the Bitcoin trend analysis chart this morning. We did have, last time this level was used as support, we did have some wicks or some candles or some noise kind of coming through the support, and that wouldn't concern me too much, right? I want to be looking at where the 4-hour and where the daily closes. If we do get 5-minute, you can already see it on some smaller time frames. You already do see wicks going through, and then bids are stepping in right at that support, right? So you can clearly see how this level has flipped from resistance here, resistance touch, resistance touch, resistance touch, to now this little BART, as everyone calls it, and now it's becoming support, right? So that's what I'm looking for as the retest, and it's still eyes kind of on this target up here at 92.5 or 9,400, where I'll think about trimming some exposure, right? But for now, I really like how this is playing out. Still not worried. To me, everything's kind of going according to plan. One thing I do want to avoid, and sometimes it's tough. I do want to provide a ton of charts, and we do the stream every single day. I don't sometimes want to get too kind of paralysis by analysis, right? I don't want to like overanalyze all these patterns and do too much, right? I want to move a little bit slower, kind of be looking at 4-hour, be looking at daily. I also don't want to kind of reiterate something so much that I get locked in one view. So I am staying objective here, but my view really does remain the same. This is just a little bit of a retest, and then we move higher, right? So that's what I'm watching with Bitcoin. That's what I'm expecting. Obviously, this is invalidated if we cross below 7,800. Right? And it would be pretty concerning also if this retest right here didn't hold. So that's what I'm looking at with Bitcoin. On the news front for Bitcoin, I didn't see anything too particularly interesting. Still, everyone continues to talk about OTC markets. Other than that, no big news stories or anything like that. Right? I saw Pretty throw something in about Coinbase opening up an engineering office in Chicago. A couple other things about mining and different things, but no kind of groundbreaking new Bitcoin news. Right, so that's what we're seeing in the Bitcoin markets this morning. Past that, and once again, this is also still kind of a confidence parameter for the entire market. Right? I still think, as Bitcoin moves down, risk aversion goes up. As Bitcoin goes up, risk tolerance goes up. Meaning that as risk tolerance goes up, and as Bitcoin and the entire system gains faith, and alts rose with Bitcoin through this, and they dropped with Bitcoin as we dropped. As Bitcoin rises, I think risk tolerance picks up. I think people are going to be a little bit less risk averse, and I think alts will continue to move up. So that kind of leads into what I was thinking about with ETH. When we do move to ETH, and you guys know how much I like to use this as a guide and also kind of take away any other bias or view, bullishness or bearishness, simply just using this technically as a timing guide. My kind of rule is, as we're consolidating above this support, right, and we're hanging out in this range right above this support, that is a bullish sign for me. That's a positive thing. If this support was to break, then that's a bit of a bearish sign, right? If we start consolidating down here, then I'm maybe a little bit worried. I'm a little bit shaky for the rest of the alt scene. But every single time that we've kind of done this consolidation above a support here, above one of these fib ranges, it's been a nice timing guide. It's been a nice kind of, even when I was scared to move into alts or I didn't know if the all run was over or different things like that, it kind of proved helpful. If we consolidated above a fib support, Bitcoin or ETH and other alts, not just ETH here, kind of moved up with ETH as it jumped up a fib level. So technically, and trying to stay objective here, looking at ETH just as a timing guide, this is still positive. You do see ETH moving down a little bit as Bitcoin moves down, but we are just continuing to consolidate above this. So I'm also going to be watching a retest on this level, just like I am on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's retest holds, then I also expect this retest to hold as well, right? Barring some violent $1,000 candle. And then kind of the next step up is going to be in this 0.089 range. So that's what I'm looking at for if I'm using ETH as a timing guide. As sketchy as it is, I know alts and the entire space do seem still a little bit shaky, a little bit scared. But if we're just staying objective, the exact same rules we've used since the beginning of April, back here when people were moving completely out of alts, and yes, that works for a day or two and that sounds good, and then the rest of the scene just continues to move up, all the way kind of until the local top in May. As a timing guide, staying objective, not thinking about anything else, this means alts look good as long as we stay above 0.087 or 0.0825, pardon me, right? 1 second, guys. All right. Past that, the individual coins that I wanted to look at. Let me just make sure the stream's still coming through good. All right, cool. Past that, the individual coins that I wanted to look at. Starting this off, where did I just post that? Bittrex update. So went over this briefly yesterday. I just wanted to touch it in case you missed it. I imagine some of these positional plays will start paying off nicely. Mu has kind of already started to move, but keeping in mind, this is kind of a lower volume of any of the Bittrex plays, and I saw it get mentioned a lot on Twitter yesterday, especially by some big accounts, right? So if it ticks up, that kind of isn't the way I want to ever play these positional plays. Once things start moving, I always just want to be getting them on the accumulation floor. Same thing with Edgeless, same thing with XCP, and really the same thing with V as well, right? So I think Mu, now it looks good. It's probably the least attractive to move into right now, though, if that makes sense. So it's a nice sign that's happening. I'm just hoping Edge and the other ones can follow suit. A little bit different strategy. We don't need to focus on that one too much. I've gone over it a lot. Past that, V was kind of the one new idea. I didn't post this one yet, but I like the way it looks a lot, kind of going off that April low framework that I talked about yesterday and that we're looking at with Edu. The only problem is V is also just on Bittrex. I don't know if I want to open up another Bittrex play, right? Things really do just move a little bit slower there. But technically, I like this. We are coming out of a falling wedge, a nice confirmation. I imagine we get a retest, right? Even if it even gets down that low, and we move up. So that's kind of what I'm looking for with V. I think it's an okay setup. Maybe if you didn't like one of the other Bittrex plays and you wanted exposure to a Bittrex play, or you liked V and you didn't get on any kind of last ascending triangle breakout, this is kind of a second nice setup. We're right at the April lows. This is a nice previous horizontal support, turned resistance, turned support again. Right, so I like that setup. I don't like it enough that I'm going to move into it, so I'm going to kind of stay away from sharing it as an alt trade idea. I'm really just trying to share ideas that I have much higher conviction in lately. Michuno, I am getting to that question. I'm not ignoring it. And then past that, Edu hasn't moved. I guess the two other ones that I wanted to cover, Icon and Enigma. These were kind of the two May bets. And honestly, the larger caps have definitely been struggling a little bit more than the smaller caps. And this is a strange phenomenon that kind of happens in crypto. It doesn't happen anywhere else really in investing, in the sense that smaller caps do usually have, or we're looking at a larger cap, but smaller caps usually kind of have higher upside because they would have, a higher beta in traditional finance. The weird thing is when Bitcoin or ETH or other things shake out, lower caps are usually kind of affected less. So these larger caps, when alts are shaky or when alts are trending down or when Bitcoin's trending down a little bit, they kind of do a little bit worse. So we're seeing Icon and Enigma both down a little bit. Icon down around 7%, like I said. People were talking about now whether or not they should close the trade. This is one of those situations where, have a set of rules. So whatever your target is for Icon, I would say kind of the smallest target that I would give myself, or the first place that I would even consider taking profits would be this 25% up right on this local top, right? Beginning of May. So if I'm going to give myself 23%, and this was just strictly a trade for me, not a hold, this is just how I would set it up too, guys. So kind of the most risk I would ever kind of let this thing run against me would be a 1-to-1 risk reward, right? And I really don't find that too optimal, right? I want to stay away from 50-50 opportunities. I want to be going for plays that have much higher reward than I'm willing to risk. So that would be kind of the maximum that I'd be willing to risk. Anything in this range down to around 38, not even looking at kind of a stop, but just looking at supports, right? I think that's even fine. Down in the 38,000 sat range, that still kind of wouldn't bother me. If we broke below kind of the 38,000 sat range, right, then I would think kind of the trade setup is a little bit void. But for me personally, with Icon, with Enigma, I still like these plays. And Icon's so strong that I would be okay holding it, right? But if I'm looking at this strictly as a trade, that's kind of how I'm playing it. I'm going to set an alert down here if we do break below. Just as a stop alert for me to look at it. I don't like to set stops kind of on the actual exchange, but that's what I'm looking at with Icon. Someone had a really good question there. That's just my take, guys. So if different people have kind of different risk tolerances, different metrics, different ways they want to close out the trade. If you're only willing to risk 5 or 7% on this, then you can take that loss, right? I try to limit my losses like that, and then the wins that are 30, 40, 50, or 2 or 5x make up for these kind of tenfold. If we can limit our losses, or I can limit my losses to 7 or 15 or 20% losses, right? I'm not taking a loss though on a 5% move. It's not what I went into this coin for. That's my thought right there on Enigma, or on Icon, pardon me. Luke said Icon entry under 40K. Okay. Yeah, I honestly think anything in here, I would kind of view this as one lower support zone. Right? I think this setup is also attractive, down kind of in this 38 range. And Luke, like I said, right below that, I think the setup is a little bit uglier, and I wouldn't like that trading idea or that kind of trading setup. The most room would kind of be down here, giving myself this swing low room. So maybe down here. Actually, I'll keep it here and then I'll reevaluate. So that's what I'm looking at with Icon. Enigma is really the same thing. These are really kind of the two that have been ugly, but they're not too bad, right? It's not down 50 or whatever percent. This one's just literally right at entry, right? So this is right where we moved in. This was the previous resistance. Flip it. This was the support we were playing. Right. So Enigma is just flat. Right? It had that 30 or 40% pop. It was a sell the news event. I honestly anticipated they would kind of continue to keep that momentum, but they haven't been able to. So this one's right back at entry. It's flat. I'm doing nothing here. It hasn't reached kind of the first target. Hasn't reached a selling point. I was looking to take profits around 38,000 sats, and it's definitely not even below entry. So I'm not even kind of considering a sell. Right. So no thoughts yet on Enigma or Icon, or really no changes, I should say, not no thoughts. That's what I'm looking at there. Someone else said, let's look at Ren. To whoever asked that, it's only on Liqui and OKX, right? So I can't really chart that. To me, it's still like a Tomo, it's like an Aura, it's like those. I'm just playing those in anticipation. I like the narrative, I like the coin, and I'm anticipating they get on a bigger exchange. That's when I'm going to be looking to take profits on those. I'm not even kind of charting them and playing a technical resistance or a technical target. It's more just holding that and wanting that exposure to REM. We're now looking at this retest fail a little bit, but like I said, I want to see whether or not this is noise or whether this is a real sell-off. Machuno has a good question. What do you think about volume decreasing continuously? Machuno, for what coin or what situation? Good question. Whatever it is. What else? Is there anything else I want to look at? That kind of covers it, guys. The other stream, not too much has changed. Bitcoin ETH. Not too much has changed in terms of kind of my outlook. I still think Bitcoin's trending up. I still think alts are attractive. I was going to post a thread on this, and I'm going to break it down a lot more in the group than I do in the thread. Kind of just keeping in mind, what's going on here. And as we trend higher in ETH, whatever you use kind of as a filter or a timing guide, and Machuno, this will kind of tie to your question. Whatever you use, in my opinion, we are still trending up. Technically, we're trending up, making higher highs, higher lows. If that changes, right, you can see a trend higher, right? You can see the downtrend switching to an uptrend, switching to a downtrend, right? We're still in an uptrend, right? So if that changes, if we do kind of get a local top eventually up here, whether it's at the 0.089, whether we get a local top there, or we get a local top here, for now, we're still trending up. So I just want to stay objective, kind of continue to remind myself that. I'm sorry if I repeat it and you think it's annoying. I say it to myself as well, to stay grounded and stay objective and say, look, should I be keeping alt exposure? When we're in an uptrend, yes, I do want to be keeping alt exposure, personally, right? So the dips are just opportunities for me to buy, and they're not kind of binary situations of where I'm moving all in, all out of alts. Machuno said, yeah, Bitcoin ETH. So, honestly, the volume's been really weak all of March. If we do look at some smaller time frames, yes, it's been decreasing a little bit, right? Especially right now. I'm not viewing that as too much of a concern. Asleep, I'll get to that one too. It's not the best sign, right? There's not too much buy volume stepping in, but even when we had the reversal, there wasn't a lot of buy volume stepping in. I would say this volume being down is almost the exact same as how kind of weak we were almost at the reversal. wherever we are. So I mean, it's what, down a little percent. I mean, it's down massively. This is also because we're looking at Bittrex. I'm sure if I was to pull it up on Binance, it would look different. Volume declining a little bit, but honestly, even around the reversal, down really slightly, right? I'm not looking into that too much. If support breaks, like I said, at 0.083 or that 0.082 support breaks, then that's a little bit more worrisome. Oh, I lost ETH. Asleep had a question about Monero. Did you hear anything about Monero at the conference? Honestly, the only thing I heard about Monero, and I saw Ricardo, I didn't get to talk to him. The only thing I heard about Monero was, honestly, it was a lot more focused about them kind of being delisted on some of those Japanese exchanges, and then his $800,000 watch. That was that was really the talk. He kind of stays away from. He did do one talk, but they were doing that magical crypto friends thing. It was like him and Satoshi Light and a couple other guys kind of joking around. It's almost like at conferences they don't really even take it too seriously. And I wish we did get some more technical stuff from them, and he kind of would give a talk about that. But I almost didn't even want to go up and approach him with that. They were doing a lot more sticker giving away and their little YouTube show than they were focused on coins. So I didn't really hear anything about Monero. Nothing there. I'm meeting with a team or someone from the team from the Zcoin team this week, and hopefully getting a nice interview. I want to ask them kind of about that FUD that was shared a little bit ago, showing that maybe some of these coins are traceable, things like that. So we'll see if there's a play there. Yeah, Machuno, that article with Monero is really interesting with the ASICs. Yeah, I wish there was more on Monero. They don't give too much. It's like they kind of don't care. But guys, that's about 20 minutes. I'm gonna wrap this up. Like I said, today is hopefully my last day of travel. But I will, just like yesterday, I was able to be online kind of all day. I imagine the same. The iPad helps me do that. So I'll be in the group, really active all day. Really just kind of sitting and waiting and watching. It's interesting to see, as I kind of always keep a grasp or keep a mental note or kind of always test the sentiment out on Twitter. People still seem like timidly bullish, right? It seems like a day or two ago on this bounce, everyone was already posting again and saying, this is going to be my biggest trade, and we're going to hit 11.2 end of the month, and we're still on for 33K end of year, right? So you see those talks, and then just on like a simple $200 or $300 retest, which we kind of anticipated yesterday. Now you can kind of see even the Bitcoin bullishness fade, and then people get a little bit scared of alts, right? So if I'm staying objective, if I'm looking at this just as I looked at this last week and just as I looked at this all the way through May and April, to me, ETH and alt have been in an uptrend, and I want to stay objective in that. And Bitcoin the same way. Jorge, not really moving, right? I'm just kind of getting a new little space for my office to be a little bit more stationary, if that makes sense. Just due to OPSEC, I've learned to talk a little bit less maybe about that. What's up, David? All right, cool, guys. I'm gonna wrap this up. David, I'm leaving right when you join, man. I'll be in the group the rest of the day, guys. I'm sure Delta is probably gonna leave me stranded in some airport, but I'll be online, and it's really good. I imagine it's gonna be a really good week. I'm excited to get kind of a full week of trading. The one goal for this week is to swing one of these Bitcoin profits, have one of our higher conviction plays come up. If I'm still leaning towards kind of my highest conviction play, still Tomo. I don't really have a newer kind of coin, higher conviction play to end the month yet. Ren would kind of be a close second, but technically it's hard to kind of chart where it is. So I'm still waiting on kind of the next really high conviction play to happen. I like anything that's along the April lows. I still like this new Edo trade idea. So I'm looking to find another one of these, positioning into something like this, leading into the end of the month, leading into June. I think we'll do very well, right? Yeah, Lawrence, I can definitely look at ARK before we wrap up. You know what? I don't think I have ARK charted on Binance. I think I used to have it on Bittrex, but I actually might have cleared the chart. We'll see where we're at. So if I'm looking at ARK, just right off the bat, and this is kind of a fresh look for me, I haven't looked in quite some time. All right, I think definitely one of the more attractive areas would be down here. being pretty patient, but I haven't traded or watched this in a while, so I'm not really sure how it's trading or what's on the roadmap. But if I'm just picking kind of the strongest support that I think is reasonable to reach, if I was looking for a new trade, what is that, 10% lower? This range is an interesting little range right here. It's kind of 30% range. So this kind of being local resistance, I imagine we reached this, beginning of May? End of April? And this would also kind of be the April low. April lows are actually back here. Yeah, I might have to. Okay, symmetrical triangle. I see what you're saying. More macro. Okay. Yeah, of course, Jorge. Have a good day, man. Hope everyone's having a good Monday. Good start to the week, guys. We'll get some good energy going. And I really do think it'll be a nice week. Let's see. Let me see what you're looking at. Is that angle the same? Is it around 21 degrees? Close. Yeah, that'd be interesting. What's nice here, Lawrence, if you're actually looking for kind of an entry, is that entry kind of lines up, right? It would be kind of a support bounce, not only along the triangle trend line, right, but also along this horizontal support. Right, I'm going to put a little, maybe you can even see the wick come down here and get hit. I actually like that range a lot for an order, somewhere in the 32,000 sat range. So I'm going to set an alert. And give that a look if it goes off. Nice look there, Lawrence. But yeah, guys, wrapping up, like I like to do with Bitcoin, we are getting that noise, right? We're getting some selling through the support. I'm not too worried about it though. I just want to see where the 4 hours close. Right? I'm anticipating this to be a little bit of a fake out, but we'll see. We will see. If we're looking at kind of the falling wedge that broke, the retest would, I imagine, be somewhere in here. Right, so this could also just be a little bit of a retest coming down. Right, so a few different looks there. That wouldn't be too worrisome at all if it came down and retested the falling wedge. Right, I would actually like that. Yeah, of course. All right, guys, I'm signing off. I'll be more actively tracking Bitcoin and then kind of the ETH macroscape today. I like how we're positioned into the individual trades. And then if anything else does kind of catch my eye on the Binance front in terms of coins that are along their April lows, it's still the framework that I think is most attractive right now. And that's still the framework that allowed us to catch some really nice moves end of March and kind of in April was looking for coins along December 5th, December 7th low. So just finding a system, finding something you can be consistent with, finding something that allows you to determine which coins are cheap. And I think that's it right now. I think anything along its April lows is going to perform pretty well. Right? If that changes and ETH does break support, then we might have to do, might kind of have to revamp that strategy, but we're just not there yet. All right, I'm signing off. Hopefully everyone's having a good Monday. Hopefully everyone's having a good start to the week. I'll see you guys in the group the rest of the day. I'm excited for this week. Talk to you guys soon. Signing off. See you guys. Later, Jason.